I'm living through the love winds. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to another episode of the Reconnect with Your Teenager podcast with yours truly, Emma G. For those of you who are new to this platform, to this particular function that I'm doing here over on the podcast, I am a youth empowerment through songwriting coach, musician, singer, songwriter, author of my book, Reconnect with Your Teenager. And I decided, just because I have found something quite niche to help parents reconnect with their teenagers, the art of music and songwriting, doesn't mean that there are some other phenomenal humans out and about that are also utilizing their superpowers to help parents and their children reconnect in a way that is effective, beautiful, spiritually sound, and super helpful, especially coming out of the last few years. Today's guest called in all the way from Sweden. He is a yoga extraordinaire. He helps people to reconnect with themselves first and foremost, because, we can't pour from an empty cup. But that's enough of my introduction. How are you, Henrik? Happy Tuesday.
Thank you, and you too. I'm very, very good. How about you?
I'm well. Things are. It's been a busy day. But I've gotten my yoga in, so I'm feeling good.
That's awesome.
So tell me a little bit more about yourself. Your approach to mental wellness is very physically focused, and what a lot of people would think of as physically focused, because people often, I think, ascribe yoga to either one of two things: one, dull and boring, or two, way too physically challenging. But you have kind of turned this your practice into something that I think is very monumental for people in themselves, but also when it comes to communities and relationships. Can you tell me more about what it is exactly that you do?
Well, first of all, so yoga to me, and the original way of doing yoga or living yoga, is that it's not a physical exercise regime. That is just one tiny bit of what yoga is. Yoga is more psychology, really, and a spiritual science.
Mm-hmm.
You are working on all the levels of what it means to be human. So physical, emotional, energetically, thoughts, and beyond. And the goal is to move beyond. So it's actually not about the physical at all. That is just a means to an end, or not an end at that, but still.
The means to a journey.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, 9 years ago, I had a burnout. I have suffered depression, being suicidal, addict to alcohol, and all kinds of things. And 9 years ago, I had my burnout, and it completely shifted my life, because I came in contact with a deeper place within me that I didn't know existed. At the time, I didn't know it existed. And that awareness started to talk back to me. And it told me that I wasn't living my life that I was supposed to. I was meant to for something else. So I started a journey going inward and moving beyond the physical and beyond my thoughts and emotion that had troubled me so much in my life, because I have the habit of being an overthinker. So I tend to get up in my mind and get stuck there, always questioning this, why is this like this? Why? And for all the questions you have, there's always more questions.
How philosophical.
So, yeah. So I want to end the questions.
Right.
The questions, of course, for me, and if you look deeply, I guess will find the same, that the ultimate question is about God, the source which I mean the source of all life, the source of
Mm.
creation. And I want to know. I don't want to believe, I want to know. So religion didn't cut it for me. It was
Mm.
about belief, but I didn't want to just follow some rules. I wanted to know. I want to experience the truth. And that's when I found yoga. So my quest is to answer really the questions: who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life, and what's the meaning and purpose of all life? So quite big questions. But in yoga, I found tools, I found principles of living your life in a certain way and doing things in a certain way
Mm.
that will give you the experience of the truth instead of just thinking about them or feeling about them. You move beyond into the truth and become that truth. And that's how you become yourself. You can reconnect with your true self, which is the everlasting, the eternity of this creation, the source of everything. So,
That's beautiful. I love that.
yeah, it is beautiful because that's the truth. Truth of
It's
everything
beautiful.
is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. It's fascinating to me because, you know, I think a lot of people, especially in the last few years, have really struggled with the concept of trusting source, trusting the universe, trusting the force, trusting God, whatever, name you want to ascribe to what's bigger than us. But one of the things that you mentioned that, well, that I heard from what you were just talking about is that, finding that truth within us goes back to those proverbs of, if we are made in the image of God, then we are perfectly made. And sometimes we just forget that. So being able to move into yoga as a way of stepping into that truth is such a beautiful exercise in rediscovering our power. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm as well as yoga teacher, I'm also a life and empowerment coach, because these tools, practices, and principles, when you start living by them, you realize more of your true potential, which is empowering you,
Of
because
course.
you have the power of creation within you. You are that power,
Yeah.
and not as an idea, as a direct experience.
I love that. I'm curious because a lot of the time, especially in your career as a yoga instructor, let alone the empowerment coach side of things, you work predominantly with men and women, but you also work with teenagers. And I'm sure every single person you've worked with historically has had a very different response to your principles. What are those yoga principles that you're talking about, and how have people responded to them, generally speaking?
So the number one thing that I would suggest anybody to really look deeply into is the word, or the being of presence.
Mm.
What it really means to be present. Because, as you say, I work with teenagers. I work with, currently I'm a teacher assistant in a sixth grade, and have worked in all areas from
Hmm.
preschool to high school and so on.
Hmm.
And the number one thing that is the most important thing is you being totally and fully present in the moment with whoever you are with. That alone will bring you amazing results of
That's
helping that
fantastic.
person evolve and grow.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's the only thing you need to do,
Be
because
present.
from that presence you will know exactly what's the right thing to do,
Mm.
because you will be connected to that source that knows what is intended to be said or done or not say or do. So you will not think about what's the right thing to do or say, you will just be the truth of that situation. And it's much simpler than it sounds, but it's also more complicated because we have a mind, because we have thoughts, emotions, and memories
Yeah.
that triggers emotional response. That more often,
You're sorry, Henrik. You're when you're moving your left hand, your microphone's popping a lot. Just by the
sorry about
way.
that. I
That's
will
okay.
try to do it. Yeah,
There we go.
maybe it is. It's better.
Yes,
It's
much
not
better.
popping.
Sorry, as you were saying,
Yeah.
so
So you talked about emotional reactions,
yeah.
and that's my main effort for myself. But I would also say it's the main struggle that we all have. We have thought patterns that create emotional reactions, and then we are identified with the thoughts and emotions, and then we need and have to express them, and then we totally regret it.
Yeah.
And we create more, we fuel those emotional reactions more and more each time we express them. So the key here is awareness and presence, because that in itself distance yourself, is separate yourself from that reaction. So if you want, I want to just shortly explain what I mean with this,
Yeah,
what the
I love that.
mind is and awareness is, and how to separate them.
Let's go.
So picture your mind as a great storage space,
Okay.
really, really big.
Mm-hmm.
In it, you have different rooms, and in every room, there's a different experience, emotions and thoughts, and so on. And it's completely dark, so you can't see anything because you need something else to be able to see it and experience it. And that is the orb of light that is your awareness. So you have your mind and the content of your mind, which is completely dark until your awareness, which is who you really are, moves into the mind and that specific room. And when it is there, it lights it up. The longer it's there, the more it lights it up, and the more you experience that which is in that room.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, let's say someone tells you something that you think is bad, is hurting you. So you have an idea, I feel hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Direct your emotion, the emotional response of your awareness traveling to the room, I'm hurt. You directly get more emotions that are aligned with that idea of being hurt. So you feel hurt.
That's where the rat
And
race
that,
of emotions and thoughts
yes,
come
and
play
then
in. Yeah.
because you feel that, you get more attraction to the thoughts that say, yes, I'm hurt. He or she did or said that. They are an asshole. And you come up with all these reasons of why they are an asshole, why you should feel hurt, which fuels the emotions.
Uh-huh.
And you have this negative feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
But all of this happens because you have let your awareness travel to this room in your mind, and then you have identified your awareness with what you are aware of, because you
Mm.
are not hurt. You are experiencing the feeling of being hurt. That's a
Yes,
really big difference, because
absolutely.
if you are hurt, you cannot change. You are that. But if you are experiencing something, you can watch it, you can feel it, but from a distance. So the moment you become aware that I am feeling hurt, then you have created a distance. But that emotion wants to pull you in to identify with it by reason, by thinking more about why you are hurt. But if you can stay that as the silent witness and observe, being aware of this motion within your mind, it's movement. And you can just be aware of the movement that we call feelings, whatever feeling it is,
Mm.
whatever name you have given that movement, you can just be aware and sense that movement. Then you have a distance. Then this will come up, this wheel of emotional reaction and thoughts will you will pull out energy from it, so it will slowly slow down until it's enough and you have pulled out the energy and it moved back down to your subconscious mind until it gets triggered again next time, but then it's less. But if
Right.
you don't do this, it will become more and more and more and more. And this is what happens in relationships with your partner, with your spouse, with your kids, with your colleagues, because you let your awareness travel to this space in your mind. And each time you do, you magnetize this because you pull in energy. So wherever your awareness goes, you give energy to that space within your mind. And wherever energy goes, you magnetize and you will attract your awareness there much easier. You will attract more things and circumstances that matches that identity you have created unknowingly for yourself. This is how people that always have a bad day, because they have identified as a person that always have a bad day. So
Right.
as soon as something comes along that triggers this is not how it's supposed to be happen, immediately their thoughts and ideas tell them this is just one of those days. I am that kind of person that always have this, blah blah blah. And of course, this I simplify this, but it is this simple, but it's not so easy to do when, because you have unknowingly learned and practiced this your whole life. You have identified with everything you are aware of, because
That's
nobody has
fascinating.
told you this.
Yeah.
Because very few people know this and
Yeah.
have this
No.
clear difference between the content, the experience you have, and the one or the awareness of the experience.
I love that so much. I mean, in my work with working with teenagers to write their songs, I have a lot of the teenagers that I'm working with at the moment. In fact, they identify as their emotions. They're thinking, "Oh, I'm stressed. I'm a stressed person," or "I'm depressed," or I am." So what I often do with them is give them permission to take that hat off for a minute and imagine that emotion being a human being. And so if that was a human, if you were like Mr. Depression was sitting over here, Mr. Anxiety or Ms. Anxiety was over here, and Miss, I don't know, Angry was sitting across from us, what would we say to these people? And so it allows us to sort of take that responsibility of owning that identity, turning that noun into more of a verb now, right?
Yeah.
I love that so much. And so how does, like, say for example, a very anxious 17-year-old comes in. I don't know if this is the same in Sweden, but here in the States, there's a lot of pressure on high schoolers, particularly, to make sure they get all of the grades, all of the extracurriculars, all of the everythings in order to make sure that they can get into a good college. And you are smiling, so I assume that you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I think it's a little bit worse actually, because
Oh,
you
really?
you pay for your college and everything. We don't do that in Sweden. So the state
Oh,
pays for our school. So we don't. We still have the pressure, because if you want to go to that type of thing or school, you need to have certain grades. But it's not. Uh, it's still high pressure, but it's not as much in as in
as
the
in the
US, I
States.
think.
It's
Yeah.
wild. It's
But
wild.
yeah, it is
So
crazy.
how
It's
does
totally unnecessary.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's a whole wormhole of a
Yes, I
discussion.
was about
But
to say another question.
when it comes to, helping our young people to kind of refocus a little bit on where they're directing their energy in a way that serves them positively and sort of alleviates some of that pressure from, their exams and whatnot. How does that play into, or have you had much experience with working with teens and their parents in that kind of way?
Well, first of all, you need to lead by example.
Preach.
It's really that simple in one case, but it might not be as simple to actually embody it. But it is the way you need to. If you are not calm, if you are not peaceful and can respond peacefully to aggression, how do you believe, how can you think that they, or demand really, that they should, when stop yelling, and then you're yelling to them to stop yelling and be calm, and that's totally unlogical.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
like, you know, and yet most people do because they are their reactions. They have
Right.
identified. So if we take what I talked about, how to separate, you separate by notice the feeling of being anxious. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel anxiousness inside of me right now. You don't feel or think that it's bad or good. It's just objectively a movement within yourself that you call anxiousness. Feeling anxious. It's not a problem until you make it a problem
Mm-hmm.
by identifying it. And you do when you make it a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you try to push it, and then you have identify with it, because if you know what I know, that it's just an experience, that will calm itself down and move down and get out of your awareness again. Eventually, with practice, you can learn to actually move your awareness with your willpower to a different location altogether. So we are going to try this right now.
Let's go. I'm here for it.
So it's really, really extremely simple exercise in what to do. It's not always as simple to do it. We will do it just a short time so we don't take too much time. But the key part here is to focus your awareness in a triangle on your nose. So breathe, breath awareness. You just try to notice how your breath moves in and out through your nostril. And that is what you're going to do. You're going to hold your light, your awareness on your nose, and just breathe. And you are not even breathing, you are just observing that breath is going on, going in and out, in and out. And as soon as you notice that you're thinking about what you're going to eat later, or what you're going to do, or what the conversation you had with that person, I wonder if they mean this or that, and I could have said this or that, and so on and so on. You know, all these things that we have in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
Start to notice this once you start to go within. Once you start to take your awareness from the outside and in, because that is where everything happens. So the importance should be within.
Mm-hmm.
And this can be really annoying, frustrating, irritating. People feel I can't meditate because they have the ridiculous thinking that meditation is about being completely not thinking.
Right.
And if that is the case, I haven't gotten to that point yet. I can tell you that. And I practice for 9 years now. And that might be the final stage, but very rarely people get to that stage because it's a high stage.
Mm.
So we want to observe it. And we want to observe and notice once our awareness have unknowingly moved to a place we haven't chosen.
Chosen. Yeah.
Uh, so we want to be in control of where our awareness move. But to do that, we need to be aware of our awareness. We need to notice what we are aware of. So this time we choose to have or hold our awareness on the nose and focus on our breathing. And as soon you notice that it's not there, you gently but firmly take it back to the area in and around the nose without judging yourself for how many times it moved somewhere else, you might drift off directly from when we start and just notice when I call you back that, oh, right, I was doing this. Totally fine. We start where we are at, and that only means that you need to practice. If we practice, we become good at it. That's a universal law. So you have practice of being unconscious of where your awareness goes and just let it. So you have become very good at being distracted because that's what you practiced. Because nobody had taught you how to practice being in control of your awareness, which we do now. So sit comfortably.
I love that.
Straight spine, straight neck, and just have your hands on your thigh or wherever feels natural for you to have them. So you can be relaxed in your body. You can take a deep breath in through your nose. And then as you exhale, exhale through the mouth and just let it go. And let it go with a sound even. And just feel how you become calm, centered, and relaxed. Your body becomes all soft. Now start to breathe in and out through your nose. And just become aware of the sensations that your breath is letting you become aware of. So just be aware, be present to the breathing, how you breathe in, how that feels, the sensations that create within the nostrils, and how it feels as you exhale. And just try to stay present, be aware for as long as you can, till you notice your mind, or rather your awareness, have moved to something else in your mind. Maybe a thought about the past or the future, maybe a sensation in another body part, or maybe a memory that is pleasant or unpleasant. Doesn't matter, just notice and take your awareness back to the area in and around your nose and your breathing.
I feel as if we need to have whole tones music in the background or something.
Just be present. Whatever comes up, comes up. It doesn't matter. Just be present to the breath, breathing in and out. Just feel, let go of thinking and start feeling, sensing the breath moving in and out through your nostrils. And you just relax, let go.
It's certainly one of those things where we definitely, it's uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of people to sit in silence for a very long time,
Yes.
for longer than 30 seconds. I'm curious, when you were talking about the difference between breathing in through your nose and out of your mouth, or breathing in your nose and out of your nose. Those are two completely different breathing styles. And I'm particularly fascinated by this because as a vocal coach, where I'm really big on how we utilize our breath for vocalization, but also for that mind, body, spirit connection as well. Can you take me through how those different types of breathing can alter how we are present?
So, absolutely. So, the first thing, just by being present, you probably know. I notice a difference in you. I'm not sure if you notice, but
Oh, I'm always, yeah.
can totally sense this. That is the power of this. We didn't do it long, maybe a minute or so. It's such a powerful practice to be present to your breathing as much as possible during your whole day. That is actually one of the secrets of my success of being calm in any circumstance. Because as soon as I notice the movement of whatever emotions that is unpleasant, I just become present to my breath and feel it through my breath, which helps me have this distance, because I experiencing it from my breath rather from the emotion, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So to take it to the breath, you can do so much with it. You can alternate your breath, which is very balancing and calming for the mind. But the most simple way is to breathe out twice as long as you breathe in.
Ah, yes.
So when you breathe in, if you breathe in, you can feel full of energy, full of power. When you breathe in or exhale, you can really feel your body. And when you breathe out through your mouth like that, you can actually accentuate it. Is that the word?
I think
Yeah,
accentuate.
yeah,
Yeah.
you do more of it. It gets even bigger release because you focus on release.
Emphasizes the
Yes,
release. Yeah.
emphasizing it.
Yeah.
So you can really like you have had a long day. You come out, sit in the couch. What do you do?
Yeah.
You make a sigh because it's relaxing. You let go of all the tension you have had. So if you consciously start to do this, you can consciously choose to let go of tension during your whole day. And like I said, when we breathe out, if you breathe, you don't need to count that it's twice as long. But if you breathe out longer, you just focus on feeling the breath slowly through the nose. You just feel how you melt down into yourself.
I feel
And
like
when
that's such an important thing for parents
yes,
to be able to harness.
and
Absolutely.
many people do unconsciously,
Of
like when
course.
they say 10, 9, 8, you know, but you can consciously do it before you come to that point. And
I love that.
once you do this with practice, with concentration, you will help yourself to do it more often in everyday life, which will become, when you have done this thousands of times, every exhalation will bring you a sense of relaxation
I love that. I love that.
because
Thank
you
you
bring
so
your
much for your,
awareness
yeah.
to go to
Thank you so much
relaxation.
for your time, Henrik. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up now because,
Yes, thank you.
but I think what you bring with your practice is just so powerful. Obviously, you're based in Sweden. Do you coach people online as well as in person?
Yes,
Yes, perfect.
both
And
online
people,
purpose.
okay, so people can obviously reach you on Instagram at yoga underscore with underscore Henrik, or on Facebook as Henrik Jönsson with two S's, 923. Um, is there anything in particular that I mean, I feel like you've given everybody who's listening to this episode a lot of homework to do when it comes to focusing on their breath and focusing on being present and focusing on recognizing that they are not their emotions. They are simply experiencing emotions. Is there anything else that you want to sort of leave our listeners with before we take off?
Yes, I would like to give you one more exercise that will ground you and help you to do this work, to stay present, to choose. Because if you have a highly active mind, like myself, I most likely have autism and ADHD. So it's very important for me to stay grounded, because otherwise I can stay in my mind forever. And it's not a good thing. Nothing good comes from that. And this is also the case for many, many, many of the students I meet, both grown-ups, but also kids in particular, with all the tech and things that makes us. So this is a simple exercise that you can do throughout the day, whenever and wherever you can. And it's very simple. I will just show you. We'll try to. But you just put your feet together. You will not see that, but they are together, heels and toes. And you lock your fingers like this, and you stretch up. And then you come up to your toes and balance. And while you balance, you just feel how you breathe through the central line of your body, all the way down to the earth and down into the earth as you stretch up and breathe. And you can breathe 3 breaths, 5 breaths, more breaths, several times, depending on how much you need to do this. If you struggle with it, this means that you need to do it more, because you are ungrounded and you hate it. You will absolutely hate it. But that's the point.
But they say, if you hate something, you need to lean into it. The worst thing you can do is shy away from those hard moments. That's where the strength and peace come from. No,
so you can see that exercise as a grounding medicine that will help you pull yourself down from your head and your busy lifestyle.
I love that. And today's an especially busy day for me, so thank you. I will do that right after this. Thank you so much for your time, Henrik. Thank you to everybody who's listening today. Of course, if you want to keep in touch with Henrik, it's instagram.com/yoga_with_Henrik, which is HENRIK, because, we all have different spellings for things. And of course, if you want to know more about how, surprisingly, I actually do incorporate a lot of what Henrik is talking about in what I do as a youth empowerment through songwriting coach. So if yoga is not quite enough, if yoga is what you're looking for, please go and hit up Henrik. He is there, willing to do all of the things. If you want to take it one step further, one of my favorite sayings is to pray is to talk to the universe, talk to source, talk to God. To meditate is to listen. To write songs is to then turn those messages into something powerful and positive for yourself. And then, of course, when you use the wonderful yoga meditative resources that Henrik is sharing with us, then who knows what magic you can and peace of mind you can bring to yourself, to your children, to your teenagers, to your community. Okay, friends, thank you all so much for listening. Of course, my name is Emma G. I want to say a massive thank you to the iRant Network for helping me produce this wonderful podcast series. Thanks, of course, to my Emma G Nation Patreon supporters, and to my beautiful cat who has decided to pop in to say goodbye to everybody. You can see your tail here on the screen. Until next time, friends, be kind, be safe, spread love like it's going out of fashion, and I will see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Breaking in my headspace, I'm trying to get my feelings straight. I thought with all my mistakes, I turned water to wine. So hard to stay sober. I'm damaged and I'm love stoned. So hard to remain in control. Rewriting what I thought I know, and I'm drinking it in, but the lesson ain't over. And I can almost pinpoint where we went wrong. I'm not about the sad songs. The foundation said I'm good to go. No matter what comes my way, I'll be smiling every step I take. I'm a legend, make no mistake, that I'm living proof that love wins. No matter what the future holds, I'm stranger who I used to be, but I'm not going down quietly. I know I create my destiny. When it's bright as light, the evergreen knows it. I left behind the what if. I broke up with the negative. I'm flirting with abundance, and I'm drinking it in. My purpose is magic. And I can almost pinpoint when my love began. I'm so glad that I know who I am, 'cause I'm the woman, I'm not the man. Whoa. No matter what comes my way, I'll be loving every step I take. I'm a legend, make no mistake. I'm living through the love winds. No matter what the future holds, I'll be here and I'm not letting go. I'm a legend, baby, you should know. I'm living through the love winds. I'm living through the love winds. I'm living through the love winds. I'm living through the love winds.